My name is Michael O'Connor, and I'm a farmer. To be a farmer, it's a big responsibility. I have a lot of people that count on what I do, and I've never felt that before, but it's a pretty great thing. Succession planting is everything. Without the foresight to get stuff in the ground 30 days, 60 days, 120 days ahead of when you expect to take it out of the ground, nothing happens. So we talk about farming and gardening being an exercise of time and space. And time is probably the hardest variable. Space, if you've got the space, you just make more of it. But timing is crucial. Lettuce, we planted every single week from September until about the middle of May. And that makes sure we're able to harvest it every single week from October until the middle of June. Carrots, it's a similar program. Starting in September, we plant the first of our carrots, and then we plant a new bed of carrots about every 10 days to make sure we are harvesting carrots every week. Other crops, we don't get the same opportunity to plant successions. Arizona, it gets too hot in the middle of our summer to keep planting new tomatoes or to keep planting other cooler season crops. Sorry, there's a dog there. Plants like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, we plant those one time. And we hope to receive succession off of them in how we harvest. Cauliflower, it's one and done. There's no succession. And we can't devote enough ground to it because of its size and its really ephemeral nature. But broccoli, you get your head and then you start pulling shoots. And if we stay up on the harvest, it keeps generating heads. And last year we had broccoli plants that went in the ground in October, and then the following May were still giving us broccoli. So we can create some succession in how we manage the plants while they're growing. But so much of what we do grow and sell, the succession's all on right behind me. It's the lettuce that we plant in the trays 30 days before it goes in the field, which is 30 days before it harvests. We map all of that out with the best intentions at the beginning of the season, but inevitably 2 or 3 months into the season, it becomes, where do we have room for what's ready now? And that's when we're managing time and space. When I talk about clean food, I talk about a cleanliness that is related to man-made products. I appreciate food that doesn't have dirt on it, and I do wash the dirt off. But what you can't wash off is what I'm concerned about with clean food. And that's chemical herbicides, chemical pesticides, chemical fungicides. We don't want any of those sides on our food because, let's face it, it doesn't just sit on the surface. It affects the food at the cellular level. And clean food to me is related to the whole purpose of this farm. It's to feed my family. And you can't wash off those chemicals. So the only version of clean food in my mind is food that's grown without them. That's our everyday here. That's what we're doing. We're eating this food every single day. And it's taking care of us like we're taking care of it. I don't know. I can't put a price on clean food. And I think some people do. But it's a pretty important factor about why we're doing this. Fenced in, the property's 3.5 acres. Our gardens, so what we have under cultivation, is now about 15,000 square feet, coming up on 20,000. So we're between a 1/4 acre and a 1/2 acre of garden. We've done our best to keep everything systemized, so every single one of our beds are the same dimensions. They're all 50 feet long by 30 inches wide. Every one of our pathways is 18 inches. And that's to essentially maximize the real estate it's using. They call it bio-intensive market gardening. And it's getting as much food per square inch as we possibly can. I'd like to see the gardens all the way up to 1 full acre, but every year we're growing it by about 2,000 square feet. The first couple of years grew much faster as we didn't have to deal with sales and we were just building. But right now it's a continued process. This year I added 10 new beds. Next year I could see about the same or maybe a few less. But a constant growth until we reach our limits. We have a neighbor farmer down the road, Mark at Rogue Rhino Gardens. He's got the perfect example of what you can do on 3.5 acres. It's spectacular. I have my eyes on the property next door. I could see my little business and my ability to manage people and the gardens. I would like to have 1 full acre of garden. And beyond that, I would like to expand the orchards. I would like a few acres of orchard. As it sits, all of my dreams and goals can be accomplished on this property. I do not need that property to do it. I just want it. 3.5 acres is plenty of ground to change a community's food source, a large community. Hundreds of people can be fed off of my little acreage. The abundance, I pinch myself sometimes. Like, I can't believe I'm pulling it off. I can't believe I'm repeating it. I'm at a point now where it's less shocking and it's more necessary to be abundant because of the business aspect of the growing, that I worry that it won't be abundant, and so I'm pleased when it is. This is a family project. We decided to do this when my firstborn son was 4 months old. It was the middle of the pandemic. He was born in August of 2020. I had just closed my chauffeur business. I was an executive driver and was planning on being a stay-at-home dad, and I realized 4 months in, I needed a change of venue. And I needed a place that put me in the best position to be as happy a dad as I could be and expose my kids to nature every day. I've always grown up a big sportsman. I love to fish and hunt, and I want that to be a part of my children's lives. But the reality, living in the greater Phoenix area, we're an hour or more drive time to do that. And when it comes to introducing 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds to those kinds of activities, the drive alone wears them out. And so we have habitat to raise children and to grow the food that makes them healthy. I'll keep doing it until they want to stop. And it's my hope that they don't want to stop. You know, my 4-year-old boy told me a week ago that when he gets bigger, he wants to work with me. And that just makes me the happiest farmer I could be. There's no secret. It's the farmer's shadow. You know, they say the best pest deterrent, the best fertilizer, the best anything you could do your garden is be present. And that's my shadow. When my shadow's out there, I don't have bunnies trying to eat my lettuce. And when I'm over there noticing bugs, the day they showed up, I can start to formulate a plan. What's causing this? Can we solve it? And being there every day is what makes a farm work. It's not for everybody. I don't even think it's for me as far as the workload. There was a time not long ago I was working on the perfect man of leisure lifestyle. It's very hard work. It's tested the limits of my body many times. Injuries happen, fatigue, it's terribly hard. And then the knowledge or skill base on it is difficult too. It's totally obtainable, and in this day and age is more attainable than ever. It's to learn how to do it. But do I think more people should do it? Absolutely. If we want to change the way we eat as a society, we need one of these farms every half a mile. There's no way to change the way America grows food without adding more farmers. More people growing less food. You don't have to trust anybody's word for how they grew it. You know exactly what went into it, and more importantly, what didn't go into it. You know your water source. You get to know your soil life. There's a really awesome correlation, and it's a big part of why people get so excited about good food, and that's nutrient density and its relation to flavor. And a vegetable that is nutrient dense as nature intended it to be is the best version of that vegetable you've ever tasted. The carrots that come out of the ground in the winter are so unbelievably sweet, and the depth of flavor, it makes people cry. When people eat the carrots at the market, they literally cry. And they tell me it reminds them of their childhood, or they tell me more often they've never tasted a carrot like that. Yeah, how do we encourage more people to do what I'm doing at any level? I mean, start in your backyard. The biggest base of my growing knowledge started in a backyard in Mesa building gardens and failing, growing things at the wrong time of the year, learning the little nuances about each vegetable that you want to grow. To start to change the way you feed yourself, just start doing it. That's the most important thing. You can plan all you want, you can learn all you want, but just doing it is what will get you there. If you don't start, you'll never do it. And so my favorite saying, I think it's Confucius, or maybe it was Buddha, that the best day to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best day is today. And that is so true of any kind of plant growing. If you want watermelons, you got to plant them in the past. And the only way you can plant them in the past is to plant them now. I want to tell anybody else that's interested in growing their own food that hasn't done it, that it's completely obtainable. Like, anybody can do this. You might run into physical limitations. You can accommodate that. Build your raised bed so you're not on the ground. Build your garden in proximity to where you're not walking, all the way across your property to get to it. But make it work for you and grow the stuff you want to eat. When we first started building the farm, I was so worried about my effect as a new farmer would have on the other farms. Like, who's this guy? Who told him he could go be a farmer? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally building a farm from scratch without any experience. I started an Instagram page, and other farms started following me, and the amount of encouragement I received just blew my mind. And since then, what I've come to learn, and this is my belief on it, is that anybody willing to work as hard as I've worked to do this is somebody that I want to know. They're offering something that most people aren't. Like, I look up to them. Like, anybody doing this, I'm going to look up to them, and I want to see them at the markets. There is no overabundance of farmers right now. It's going completely in the opposite direction. So to have new farmers rolling up their sleeves, taking the risk on acquiring the land, the equipment, all the inputs, God bless them. I hope they do well. Let's face it, if you want to just eat food, you don't have to grow it. You have the grocery store. America started trending that way after World War II. We had this industrial complex that basically won the war for us. And that industrial complex then got applied to farming. It sent us in a wrong direction. People will not follow this movement. It's because they just don't understand the principal differences between a bag of lettuce that's been sprayed with 5 different chemicals versus one that's grown naturally. You have to align your values with the importance of that food. And I believe more people are seeing it that way. Speaking to other farmers who have done this in the past, I have a neighbor who was one of the first farmers market farmers in Phoenix. He was at the Uptown Market for 15 years, started back in the 90s. And he tells me now how anti-organic people were back then. They had no idea why they would need to spend any extra money on something that's organic when they've got all these other vegetables. And that is just not the case at the market now. People are lining up to get food that they've determined is cleaner than what they can get elsewhere. When your garden is in your backyard, we are living so richly in this household with our access to food. I mean, my kids, literally, I can put a cucumber on their table in front of them and they won't touch it. But if they find it in the garden, they'll eat the entire thing. It's a convenience, but it becomes a way of life. Like, our food is out there. And my kids know it. Like, I am just starting to learn it because it's all they've known. You can argue convenience is the reason to not grow, because you can just go to the grocery store. My food is extremely convenient. Like, it all comes from within 100 yards of my kitchen. The only way you're ever going to get good at doing that is by doing it. I grow good carrots today because I did really bad at it at the beginning. We spent a year and a half figuring out all of those aspects of this while applying the knowledge that we were picking up. Then you get your own experiences to really pull from. I would like to talk about the influences out there that helped me learn how to do this. I've never met any of these people. They're people on the internet. It's YouTube. Curtis Stone, his videos, The Urban Farmer. What he laid out there as far as the business side of it got my brain spinning. Josh Satin, the video collections that he put together on the mechanics of doing this made me realize if he can do it, I can do it, and in the best way. J.M. Fortier, his book, The Market Gardener, and all of the content he's put out there is just so inspiring. And then Connor Crickmore from Neversink Farm. The technical details that man shares, it's just phenomenal. You couldn't learn what I've learned in the way I've done it 10 years ago. To have all of this knowledge extremely accessible is so valuable, and if I can thank them, I'll sleep better at night, because I owe them all a lot.
Hire us to tell your story. As an independent team of filmmakers, we love producing documentaries for artisans of all trades, honoring skill, passion, and determination.
The fruits of our labor literally creates happiness.
Founded in 2020, we harness our collective experience and enthusiasm for storytelling to deliver content that resonates with viewers on every level.
Think big and think outside of the box.
We avoid the constant noise of clickbait news and outrage headlines, instead crafting more intimate narratives that touch on the purpose of life itself. Stories that not only inform but also inspire, whether it's the art of agriculture, the science of fermentation, an innovative garage startup, or the intricacies of off-grid living. We're here to explore it all and invite you to join us in the discovery.
You're just working with what you have at hand instead of having unrealistic expectations.
We know the world is brimming with hidden stories waiting to be told. These are tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
The biggest thing is to realize that there's nothing that you can't do.
Embodying the American spirit that with hard work, dreams really can come true. So whether you're a garage baker, homegrown mycologist, backyard farmer, or off-grid homesteader, send us a message and share your story with the world.